Let's get some work done today.
Open up, you open up. Bitch, you want baby Emma. We should be closer than friends.
Hey guys, so I am back for another video. Today we are talking about the Clark sisters, First Ladies of Gospel, and it came on Lifetime a few days ago. It was pretty good, pretty enjoyable. Instant classic in the words of Kev on stage. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're just going to talk about our thoughts on the movie. This is my sister Crystal.
I was going to say, you have to introduce me. Well, we were like...
Because in my last video, I said we were doing a video together. So in my mind, I already introduced you. So this is my sister Crystal. And this is my older sister. I only have one. So that's it. She's my only older sister. And we're all together. Yay. At some point, she's going to talk, I think. Right?
Yes, I was getting ready to OD. Sorry, it's crazy times we're in. But yes, I'm Crystal here, and yes, we are talking about the Clark sisters. I didn't see it the night it premiered. I saw it the following Monday. I was taking a nap. But
when it came on?
Yeah, when I woke up, it was like a few minutes left. So, but I was thoroughly impressed by the movie. I wish that it would have been either longer or like a series, you know what I mean, like a mini series. But yeah, it honestly was like a roller coaster. It took you through the ups and downs. You know, you was gonna cry, you was gonna laugh, and overall you was gonna, praise God.
Yeah. So before I watched the movie, I watched the Clark sisters when they were on the Terrell show, and so that kind of gave me a little bit of background because I didn't know that much about them. I knew they were like, the First Ladies of Gospel. I knew they were... Look at her face.
Whose face?
Your face.
What?
I'm not going to slander these women, I promise.
Oh, no.
Bet
not.
I knew who they were, but I didn't know any of their songs except for... I don't know the names of songs. What is it called? We Are Blessed? Don't take it for granted.
Blessed and highly favored.
Yeah. I knew that song because they sing it at the convention that I go to. But I knew it before that. I think it was just like a suggested song on Spotify or something like that. And so I had heard it initially through that. And then I heard it at convention one year. And I was like, oh, I guess this is I didn't realize it was a more recent song. I thought it was like an old song like the rest of their music. But I was not educated. I was misinformed about the group. So... now I know, and everything is better because I know. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the casting. I thought the casting for this movie was perfect. Okay, I am familiar with Dorinda Clark. I think she has a hyphen, but I don't know what the other part of her name is. I am familiar with Dorinda, and I thought that Shalea as Dorinda was incredible. I love Shalea. I think she's a great vocalist. And watching her portray Dorinda, who I also think is a great vocalist, was so fun to watch. It was so entertaining and it was so like on the nose. Also watching Kiara play Karen was like, first of all, it was like almost like iconic. Like it was almost like coming full circle. Like I'm sure as her mother, she felt like she was coming full circle. So I just thought those two specifically were really great, but I also really enjoyed the woman who played Twinkie, and the woman who played Jackie, and I also enjoyed the woman who played Denise, even though Denise, she threw me for a loop. I knew there was 5 sisters. I had heard, I think Kev on stage said it. He said that a lot of people don't know there's 5 of them.
Gwen told me, so I knew.
I knew there was 5. Yeah, like I didn't know a lot about them, but I always knew there was 5, and I always knew that the oldest was not.
She just told me she kept having a lot of kids out of wedlock.
The oldest was not
and she's
a Clark.
Spirit. Right.
Or whatever.
But she did get married. But she chose to leave. Because I heard originally she got kicked out. The movie made her look a little more liberated.
She seemed very liberated the whole movie. She seemed very free. Sis was free. Yeah, so I don't know.
think the actress did a great job, though.
Yeah, for sure. I think she had the most moments where, like, your heart was just like, like when she was talking to her mom and she said, Oh my God. No, not her mom. She was talking to her sisters, and she was like, you know, y'all are hard to love. I mean, y'all are, she said, y'all aren't perfect. She said, y'all aren't perfect either, but you've never been hard to love, because Dorinda told her she was hard to love. And I was like, I don't know why I'm feeling this part so much, but I was feeling it because I just feel like you have to be careful what you say. Like, you have to be careful with your words, especially with your sisters, because like a bond between sisters is different. Like, it's a different type of relationship, and like you can't just go around saying whatever. So
I'll tell you, because we done had so many head bumps today.
You don't put that scissor right in them.
So many head bumps.
You not
this evening, but we're here. We're kicking.
It was not so many.
So,
it was two.
Honestly, it was 2. That went through a lot of phases inside of me. So it was a lot, but nevertheless,
okay. It felt like
that was definitely the family bond, the sister bond was something that made me fall in love with the movie, and definitely, you know, having such a great mom, Dr. Moss, you know what I mean? So that was just,
let me tell you something.
Blown away.
That woman who played Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, she murdered that role. Like, she was so good. It was to watch it was to believe that you were sitting in rehearsal with the great. Like, she's an incredible person, artist, musician. Like, she, like, I feel like
a person.
Wow.
Whoa. Sorry about that.
I feel like her brain, like, just worked differently than like most people. So I would consider her a musical genius. Her and
Definitely.
Twinkie as well.
Definitely.
Twinkie as well.
She has hundreds of songs, thousands probably in her catalog. I think thousands. Yeah. So incredibly talented. Anointed.
And I like that the movie focused a lot on her and their relationship with her and how things rolled out because of how they were brought up with under her. Mm-hmm. I did not. If we could go, like, I guess we're gonna go kind of in order, if we can, of like kind of like the events in the movie. So
sure.
I thought that the Reverend Clark, or whatever his name actually is, because she was calling him Clark, but his last name is Clark, so I'm not sure what his first name is.
People call people by their last name.
But I felt like he was casted well. That's the guy from Law and Order, and every other thing he's been in besides Law and Order, he always plays a bad guy that I've seen. So I felt like it was perfectly cast for him. I think my biggest issue with him was his expectation of her. Like, you're not married to somebody who just sits at home and takes care of your kids and raises your kids. You're married to Dr. Maddie Moss Clark. This woman came from the Moss family, like Jay Moss. Like, that's the same family. Like, she was brought up in the Kojic church. Like, she had, I don't want to say ranking, but you know what I'm saying. Like, she had stuff under her. She had an education. She had a mind of her own. She had talent of her own. She made music of her own. Like, I don't know what you thought you were getting when you married her.
Men like that, especially back then, like, they don't care about all that. Like, you heard him say it. That's why I was making that face before. Like, he was just like, you're useless to me. Like, he wants somebody that's just going to support him. Basically, he wants a cheerleader, somebody that's going to follow him, go to the services, do this and that. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. However, their visions weren't aligned. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but, you know, and it doesn't mean he should have put his hands on Jackie either. You know what I mean?
He should have put his hands on anybody.
That's a whole nother video. But I wasn't feeling that man in this. You know what I mean? Besides Karen's husband. We'll go ahead.
Yeah, so then the next scene that I really like was just, I mean, when I tell you I hollered out loud cracking up, was the scene with the choir and the girl was chewing the gum. And Dr. Maddie Moore, when she goes, you might. I was crying. She was like,
it was great. But
she was like, if y'all wasn't coming up in here chewing gum, you might be able to sing. Might. She was not playing with them. She threw the shoe, and I know a lot of people love the shoe throwing, and I was just like, that added to it for me. But when she was like, might, like, that was it for me. I was on the floor. Like, that was golden. Also, when I was watching the interview on the Terrell show, I had already known that she would wake them up even when they were like little kids, like 9 and 10.
Real Joe Jackson.
She would wake them up in the middle of the night, because they said what they were saying in the interview was that she would get these songs in her head in the middle of the night when she couldn't sleep because her and her husband were going through it. And so that's just when God would speak to her. And so she would go downstairs and she would play. And, you know, she didn't have a recorder because of the time, like the time it was or whatever. So she, instead of recording it, she would teach the parts to the kids because the kids can remember it. So then when they would go to rehearsal, the kids would basically sing the parts for each section.
And they knew
so her kids were the
already.
section leaders, which I thought was dope.
Amen.
Oh, okay. So when Jackie got married and her mom pulled out the envelope with all the money in it that she heard you.
Yes, that was honestly, that part made me really happy.
I was like, that is so dope. And it's like, I know that there's savings accounts and things like that you can do for your child, but to think that this single mother who was taking care of business all on her own had the time, energy, and thoughtfulness to be like, I know she's giving me this money and she probably thinks I need it, but I don't need it, so let me put it aside for her so that when she has her own family, she can get started. I thought that was absolutely incredible, and I think if more people did stuff like that, there would be less people with... I think they would just change people's minds about how money works.
Black people.
Yeah, specifically people of color, yes. Not just black people, people of color.
Perhaps.
This is my pro-black sister here. Not that I'm anti-black, but you know, she's like...
Am I?
Black. So I'm looking at my notes, y'all, just so y'all know. I got notes. And we kind of went out of order in some of them, so I'll be skipping some of these.
Jackie's wedding. What's next? I see the...
There was a part where Denise said to Twinkie, you know, you were going to Howard and you just threw that all away and da-da-da-da. From my understanding, based off of the Kev on Stage review of the movie, he said she actually did go to Howard. And so I didn't look it up, but I did hear, you know, other ways that she did end up going. So that's like a bright note that they didn't mention, is that she did end up going at some point. It's not like she just didn't go.
It seems like they just wanted... They were making Denise look more liberated. You know what I mean? Or passionate towards her life.
I feel like liberated is generous. Like, I feel like we never stopped the dryer.
Oopsies. Well, she got warm clothes. No, go ahead. Yeah, Joanne about to be like, dunk.
I'm just gonna have to figure it out. Okay, so Denise.
Yeah.
I feel like
liberated is generous.
feel like liberated is generous for Denise. I feel like they were trying to make her look like the fast one, the rebel, the one who just wasn't following what Mama wanted them to do, and things like that.
That's definitely what it was. I don't know if that was what they were.
I think your perception was that she was the liberated one, and that's a good perception because it gives it a positive.
I'm not a positive spin or something, but I'm not saying it like as far as how I say. I'm just saying like the way they set up the Howard scene. You know what I mean? Where her saying this is that you gotta live for you. She'll basically, it looks like she's living for herself.
Gotcha.
And of course, in different time zones and different mindsets, that could look selfish. You know, lustful, whatever you want to call it. But I guess in this time set, we would call it more so of a liberated. You know what I mean? Like she's not gonna live with any regrets. Basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
She loves Denise. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so then Twinkie.
The stress.
Twinkie sells. She sells her music.
She said, "I want to roll. Picture me rolling
for a car." She sells all the rights and everything. I forget what it's called when you sell it.
Her catalog, basically.
Yeah, she sells her catalog, and and when Karen, you know, tells her they offered me a record deal too, and you know, I told them no, and then Twinkie goes, "You said no because you're scared," and Karen goes, "Yes, I told them no, and to speak to Mama."
Yeah, she's such an obedient child.
I was like, you could tell she's the youngest. Like that was so funny to me because I was just like, at the end of the day, I probably would have said no also. Most likely I would have said no. Like, I can't say because I'm not in the situation, but I would most likely have said no.
like nice cars, so.
My car is a regular car. It's a 2014.
Don't be telling your business out of here, girl.
I didn't say what kind of car it was. It's a 2014
make, model,
year. Like,
color.
So I don't know what you mean by that.
You like nice stuff.
I do like nice stuff. I have expensive taste.
I think in her mind she was doing what Denise was trying to tell her, like, do something for yourself.
For yourself.
And she's like, easy, I'll do it.
And kind of like a tangent on that, I love the relationship that they had. Twinkie and Denise had a really nice relationship, and I hope that their relationship is still like that, where they kind of supported each other when everyone else would kind of like push them away. They kind of always had each other's back. So I kind of hope that that's still how they are. Because
that was real.
You are so.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I hope it was
we
real.
should have practiced this before.
No, it's okay.
You should have given me some homework, but anyway.
It's fine. So then, we're going to fast forward again. The Grammys. They perform on the Grammys with their mother.
Poppin'.
It was so dope. I'm sure, like, I can't even imagine how that feels, like, as a gospel artist, and no other gospel artists are really even, the Grammys not checking for gospel. They're not at that time. Even now, they're not really checking for it. And I can only imagine what that felt like. And then for them to be like, yeah, mama, you got to perform with us, da-da-da-da.
Energy, and
baby. Mama come up there and perform with them. Energy. And then the bishops, I'm sorry, that might be disrespectful to culture people. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I am Baptist. I apologize.
I was like, wow, this is what we doing. Go ahead.
The bishops sit in a meeting with Dr. Maddie Moss, and they reprimand her and basically give her ultimatum, like, it's either us, the church, or it's your daughters. And it's like, that's an impossible decision, number one.
It was hard for me to watch that.
Number two, it bothered me that he said, he kept saying that this is a holiness church. If I'm not mistaken, all Christian churches are holiness churches. Like, I don't understand what the implication is there.
Girl,
and so that bothered me. And it was okay. It bothered me because I was just like, what is he actually... Like, he needs to just say what he's trying to say, which is that you're a woman and you're a leader in this church, and it's bad enough that you're a woman. Now, if the Kojic church sees you on TV dancing and prancing around, it's going to be a problem. Just be honest. Like, don't come to me with that holiness stuff. Don't come to me with... what is it? Sacrifice is greater than something. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Don't come to me with that mess. Come to me with something real. And so when she got up and she defended herself and she brought the Bible into the conversation and she brought what's right and what's wrong into the conversation, I respected her so much, but I felt for her so much at the same time, because it's like, we have to keep going through the same thing. Black people have gone through so much in general, just as a people, and then you want to bring the black woman down on top of what we've already been through. Like, that makes no sense to me.
I mean, I definitely did feel for Dr. Moss during that time. Everybody, like, you know what that is. And of course, you also have to take in mind the time frame. Back then, you weren't even stepping in church with pants on. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's just there's way things were done. I'm not saying it was right or wrong.
I get that.
You know what I mean?
But if they were progressive enough, if they were progressive enough to allow her to be in the position she was in the church, and they should have been, because of her name. They should have been progressive enough to allow her to spread the gospel the way that she feels that the Lord is telling her to.
It's a lot. It's about power, politics, religion. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like the actual gospel and things.
Yeah.
But organized
like
church.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the organization of the church. Yeah.
So it's
church politics
based in patriarchy.
Church politics and millennials does not mix.
Right,
it doesn't mix. Like,
especially knowing her
our
talent,
age group,
and
we don't get down with that, so it's hard to watch that because it's like no millennial is trying to hear about church politics. I respect and appreciate the past, our history. I respect and appreciate tradition. At the same time, if we don't move forward with the time, then the church will die. So I'm not trying to hear.
And we're also not going to sit here and act like black women or women in the church have not been the backbone of the church.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
just because the men stand up and take the titles, don't get it twisted. Who's going around? Who's teaching Sunday school? You know what I mean?
Who's talking to the congregation, like really getting to know them?
Right. Who's teaching, but who's the Christian education? All of that. You know what I mean? Like, come on, the choir. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like.
We already talked about Denise.
We will move on to the next topic because that's another video in itself. Again.
Wait, no, I went all the way back to the top. Oh man, dang it.
At the top, it's just us. We're gonna move it on now.
Okay, so the next scene that really like stood out to me was when Twinkie. First of all, when Twinkie met that man that she called her husband, I was just like, I know she's lying. She can't see that this man is a buster. Like, are you serious? So
I'm just gonna meet her in the stairwell. Oh, you're so and so. I don't think so. Back it up, sir.
I thought you was gonna tell me it was a delicious yellow cake. No, shut up. Be quiet. Go away. Like, you gotta go. So when she was talking to her sisters and her mother, and she was like, "Be happy for me," and she went through individually, and she was like, "Be happy for me, be happy for me," and Karen was the only one that was like, "I am happy for you." That hurt my heart so much because I was just like, I feel for her. Like, I understand. I understand being passionate about something and no one understanding why you're passionate about it. On the other side of that same coin, she was very naive and she did fall for the very first man who even paid her attention, just like her mother said.
It's vulnerable. You're being vulnerable, a young woman, but also they were also in a place in their career where, of course, it you know what I mean? Like, it broke her sister's hearts. It'd be one thing, I guess.
She shot a bullet through the family, like Maddie Moss said. Yo, she was not playing. She was like, you just shot a bullet. I was like, girl, her words, Dr. Maddie, her words were so powerful. And I don't know if those were like her actual words that her children remembered and made sure it got into the movie, or that's just good writing. But the essence of it is like her words must have been so powerful, and she must have really just like had such a huge impact on her daughters, because my goodness, that was a lot to watch. That was a lot for me. I just was like, I feel bad for Twinkie because I know it's only going down. Like I said, I don't know a lot about their family history, so I didn't know she was going to end up getting beat and end up having a baby with him and being married to him and all of that. I didn't know all that was going to happen. I thought maybe it was going to go left and she was going to come back. And to see her stay, I was like...
It's like the prodigal son, you know what I mean? Like, you have too much pride and ego. You're like, no, I can't go back. Even if she did feel it at one point, because I'm sure she did. It's like, no, I gotta go. You know, I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm my own woman now.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah. The other part that, like, I was like, wait. She's not leaving with him. When he knocked her mother, who's already using a cane, who's already...
Don't worry about that.
Her mother, who's already using a cane, who's already...
First of all, it don't matter if she was in tip-top 100% health. That man put his hands on someone's mom.
And he just shoved her out the way like, you're not knocking mama. And then she didn't even help her up. She just was like, I gotta go, mama, bye.
She didn't have the mindset for all that. She wasn't mature enough. Because that should have been the biggest red flag, and then he should have just left at that point. Because I can't.
That was a lot for me.
It was a lot. I cried, definitely.
I was like, she just gonna leave her on the... And then she sat there crying for so long. That made me sad. That really made me sad.
But she was heartbroken.
Yeah. And then fast forward...
That's emotional, like, with the womb and the mom, and you know what I mean? Letting go. It was just... There was layers to that scene.
Yeah. And we fast forward to the funeral after Dr. Maddie dies. And Denise gets up and she talks about her mother. I personally, this might be unpopular opinion, but I personally think that Denise had every right to speak at her mother's funeral.
I agree.
I don't know if she said what she said.
I didn't think she stirred the pot. Like, I mean, It pissed people off that were sensitive and all that. And of course you're grieving, but I think honestly she was telling the truth. Like, You know what I mean? She knows her mom.
Right. And she was just saying, like, she wouldn't want y'all in here sad like this. Like, my mother was full of life, and she would want a celebration of life, which is not abnormal for the Christian community.
Right.
The Black Christian community. It's not abnormal for us to have a celebration of life as opposed to, like, a very sad, mournful funeral.
And why was they trying to have her go in a separate limo? Like, I really wasn't feeling that. Okay.
Like that whole
grimy
thing. It was grimy. That's what it was. It was just nasty. It was treating somebody who you used to consider your family, who was your actual family, and now you treat her like she's nothing, like she means nothing to you. And we weren't there, so we didn't see all the things that happened behind that. Like after she left, we didn't see any, if at all, there was any interaction with the other sisters and how those conversations went. We didn't see that. But from what we were given and how it was rolled out, she did not deserve that.
And honestly, family, a lot of times when someone dies, especially they die unexpectedly, ugly things in the family, things that were unresolved come up, people fight and beef. But I just feel like between siblings, like, it's just very unfortunate for something like that to happen.
Yeah,
and she didn't deserve that.
And it just got so extreme. Like, Karen was like, I will lay you out. Like, little Karen that don't say nothing, quiet as a mouse. And she out here like, I will lay you out at my mama's funeral. And then that's when I got mad again because they kept saying, my mama, my mama. Like, it's her mother too.
That's true.
It's her mother too. Let's stop acting like it's my mama. Like, it's just like, it's almost like disowning me without actually saying you're not a part of the family.
She was disowned. Those sisters disowned her.
That's so sad.
And I know that wasn't shown in the movie, but she was out early in the group. That's what I heard. I have to confirm everything, but right.
No, yeah, I would like to look some stuff up and see, but from what was laid out for us,
right,
it was just crazy.
It seemed beyond over the top, honestly, based on that. But like we say, emotions are high.
Yeah. So then the end of the movie, Blessed and Highly Favored starts. I was like, oh, this my song. I'm excited. And they started singing, and then it cuts to the actual Clark sisters, and I was in my room screaming, okay? I was like, first of all, Karen is in here singing her best soprano, singing her tail off. Like, let's go. I was ready for more.
Me too.
I was ready for more.
That was the end. I was waiting.
Okay, so now that we've gone through the entire movie, I have some questions. Like, first of all, I felt like you said, it should have been longer. Like, it should have been like a mini series, or I guess technically the Jacksons movie was a mini series, right? When it first aired, it aired as episodes.
I think so.
Yeah, so it should have been a mini series. It should have been something where they kind of just went into detail about certain things. One thing I was greatly confused about, one thing that I kept asking myself was why there were so many timeline jumps. Like, first they jumped from singing in the choir to studio, and then Jackie got married, and I was just like, wait.
They're like, congratulations, nominated for a Grammy.
The timeline jumps
there's
were
a whole
really
lot,
confusing.
Some of them got married, they had children, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole lot of life that was missed in between there. But I guess they did the best they could with a lifetime budget.
But look at who your executive producers were: Missy Elliott, Queen Latifah,
Mary J.
Blige. These people have money. What's the point of being an executive producer if you can't produce?
They had to do it for a lifetime.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone.
I heard someone say they felt like it was dramatic. Things were drawn out, and I feel like the person that told me that meant with the relationships with the men. I felt like they were being
the abuse.
Yeah, and I feel like realistically they were probably being nice, being
right. Yeah, because nobody's in the bedroom with you when you're being abused.
But people okay, it's a lifetime. There's gonna be slander. Like,
no,
women go through traumatic experience, abusive experience. They don't say as much, especially when they have kids and stuff.
And who are you to tell them what they went through? Don't do that. So then I felt like also they should have spent a little bit more time on Dorinda. Once Dorinda started feeling like she was suicidal thoughts, remember they were sitting in the house. It was right before Twinkie had her psychotic break, and I shouldn't call it that. It was right before she had a mental breakdown. That's what it is. Okay, so right before Twinkie had a mental breakdown and ran into the church, and she was like, "Mama, I'm sorry." But right before that, they were all sitting at the table. I guess they were getting her affairs in order or whatever. And Dorinda says she needs help. Maybe we all do.
Okay.
That was the first sign, like, something's wrong with Dorinda, like, Dorinda's not okay. And then it cuts to Twinkie at the mental hospital, and Jackie's like, listen, I need you to take on some of this load because it's getting to be too much. Like, I have a family of my own. I can't take care of them because I'm over here staying with her. You need to stay with her. And Dorinda is not even there. She's, like, mentally checked out. She's in her head. And I just felt like I felt like they should have explored a little bit more of that, just because I feel like they have focused a lot on, like, abuse and, like, neglect. Like for example, Denise was neglected. At least that's how she felt. She felt neglected by her mother. She said, you gave to everyone and then you gave me the scraps. Like, that's neglect. So
is it neglect if that's just how she felt or if that's what it really was?
I believe neglect it could be both. So as an adult, it's how she felt, but as a child, she may have been really being neglected to make her feel that way as an adult.
Okay.
There's too many kids in the house. I'm the oldest of she said it herself, she's the oldest of the Clarks, right? So she's older than the rest of the girls. The girls are being taken care of. Maybe we didn't see it, but maybe Denise and Jackie were made to fend for themselves while the girls were still little.
Right.
We don't know because we didn't see it. So she could have very well been neglected. And so I feel like they focused so much on that they should have focused also. If we're going to focus on mental health and all the things that happen to us in development, then we should focus on the suicidal thoughts also. They just show that one moment where she's at the bridge.
And that's taboo in the Christian world.
Suicide, yeah. So it's just like you should have let's explore it, because there are other Christians who are silent in their thoughts about suicide because it's taboo or whatever.
Right.
So I just felt like it should have been expanded on a little bit. I felt like also they should have expanded for the same reason, expanded a little bit on Twinkie's mental breakdown, because we know she was in a bad relationship. We know that her and her mother were estranged when her mother passed away. But we don't know what actually made her break. And maybe that's not our business, and maybe that's why they didn't want to go into detail, and that's fine. But in terms of giving us a full story, I felt like that was also missing. Because it just felt like I don't want to say it like that, even though it's going to sound worse than how I mean it when I say it. But it kind of felt like they just went overboard on making her seem like she was overreacting about the funeral or about the death, and like she just didn't know how to handle it. And I think it's bigger than that. I think it's deeper than she just didn't know how to handle her mom passing away. I think it was a bunch of things piled on that we didn't see.
Of course.
And so I thought that was interesting. I think they should have showed the women in their development. So like I believe, I may be wrong about this, but I believe Karen's husband became a huge pastor. Dorinda's husband was like a bishop or something like one of their husbands was like a bishop or something, I think. So it's like I just feel like they should have showed a little bit of that development within each family. I don't know, like I said, it would have to be a miniseries because then you would have to take the time to do that.
Right.
But even with like the Central Park 5, I think they call them something else now. What is it? The Exonerated Five. Even with them, they took the time to show you the whole story, and then in the other episodes, they showed each individual's case. Because you want to get a full, well-rounded
That's true, and
story.
those ladies are definitely full. There's full movies within all of them.
Denise is a doctoral candidate. She married a man. I think that man that she married in the movie is the same man that she's still with, and she had a kid with him. And they raised all 8 of those kids together. Like that's something that's something to celebrate.
Wait a minute.
That's something to celebrate. That like you showed her when she was down and she was she was acting up, but you didn't show her growth.
That's true.
You
That's true.
Showed
it's
both
just
sides.
like I feel like that. Yeah, you're right, because as human beings we evolve. So it's like that might have been the problem child or this and that, but like she got it together. Like once again, like the prodigal child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People return back to their base. Like, just because she wanted to go out and not be a part of the group didn't mean that she didn't love God, or you know what I mean? Like she wasn't.
And you have to let people live. And I know it's hard in like an old school Christian home, especially Kojic, but like you have to let people make their mistakes. You have to let them grow. Otherwise, if you try to confine them, it's just gonna cause them
more resentment too.
It's gonna cause them to rebel. It's gonna cause them to rebel even more. And so to avoid that, you have to let people live their lives. And I think that it kind of seemed like at some points Dr. Maddie was sort of getting to that point. She was kind of getting to like when she said she was pregnant, she just was like, I'm done with you. Like, go do what you're doing.
Calm,
please.
right?
Like, we ain't no reason for y'all not to go up there and sing. That's what she said. There ain't no reason. Go ahead. Y'all already know Denise is full of it.
I think you're right. Like, if they had more time to develop it, or if they had multiple series, because it looked like, Denise, remember the scene before they signed the contract? Denise said, I have an appointment. Can you watch my kids?
Yeah.
And Maddie blew up on her, and then Denise was like,
she said, I already raised my kids.
Right. But you're not saying if that's one of the oldest, all right, Denise probably raised those kids while that mom was out. You know what I mean?
Because she was touring and working and ministering around the world. Or the country.
Right. And it's like, you know what? That's not fair. Like, that's not fair to her character, because I would be ready to be out too. You know what I mean? It's like, I raised your kids. I raised my kids. I asked for one babysitting appointment. We don't know the situation, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like, just the way that it was laid out to us.
As an older child, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, I raised them. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just saying, like, you're not putting that in context for a single parent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times the oldest children are mistreated. Or, because the parents are still growing and evolving too. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I had two more questions.
Oh.
That I just did not understand. And then
I'm had an episode here. Come on.
I just want to know, when did Twinkie have her baby? And why wasn't a child cast for him? Because we saw all 8 of Denise's kids. Okay. Why didn't we? No, we saw 7 of the 8. I'm sorry. We saw 7 of Denise's kids, and we never saw. I think we saw a little black head run across the screen at one point when she was home right before the funeral. Did they even cast anyone?
I don't think so. She was just supposed to be left with her thoughts and pain while her husband was out doing everything.
And then my next question is, when did Dr. Maddie Moss get sick? And what was she sick with?
Did she have the sugar? Because you saw her foot.
I think it was a sore, like a.
I have to look at it.
She could have tripped on something and then just left it alone, thinking she was fine. She could have fell. Because when you're old, like stuff like that happens, and you live alone.
In that movie though, she ain't feel that blood through that sock. Like that was a lot of blood.
I'm pretty sure she knew exactly what was happening. I think she wanted to die at that point because she couldn't get in contact with Denise. She couldn't get in contact with Twinkie. They show her calling Twinkie, and Twinkie didn't answer the phone. So she had to leave a message.
Right, I saw that.
And so it was just like, I think she was going through a lot. And so as an older person, you have a lot of pride. You believe God's going to heal you and that you're going to be fine. But God, it's not like God didn't make medicine. Like,
or if she knew her time was coming down to an end.
It could be that too. Like you could feel it, I guess, in your body. But I just felt like there was too many scenes that just like I had so many questions about.
Right.
For me to just feel like this was a complete thing and it should be done now. Like, I have questions.
It made us want more.
Yeah. So. It was very good though. I think all in all, if I had to like score it, it would get like a 4.5 out of 5. And the only reason it wouldn't get a 5 is because I just have so many questions. But in terms of entertainment value, in terms of casting, in terms of music, I heard that Donald Lawrence was the person who worked with the girls on the music, which makes a lot of sense because Donald Lawrence worked with the Clark sisters.
Yeah. My man Donald. Yes. Yeah. Good.
So I just think that, like, overall, it was a really great movie. I think it was an instant classic, in the words of Kevin Hart. And I think that, I watched it twice since it came on. I'll probably watch it again.
Honestly?
I love musicals. You know that. So, like, I'm probably going to just keep watching it until I memorize all the songs.
As far as entertainment, I'm going to have to give it a 5 because I'm not the type of person that likes to rewatch movies over and over again. Okay. But I'd be willing to watch that again probably because of the music and because I enjoyed the relationships, whether, even throughout the rough patches, like, I would watch it again. And I'll watch a movie, I'll be like, it was cool, I won't watch it again. So that's definitely one I would watch. It was good, but I'm not watching it again. I don't have the mental space for that.
Yeah, and a lot of times I don't like to rewatch stuff because it's a waste of time. Like, it's like I could be watching something else, something that I haven't seen. Because I like movies. I like them.
And shows.
So, all right. So, I'm just glad that this was the movie that it was. I thought they did a great job. I think that everyone should be applauded for their contribution to.
That's when you add that sound.
I was gonna say I could put it in. I think everyone should be applauded for their contributions to this movie, and I hope and pray that all the sisters could come together. I know that when I was watching the Terrell interview, they were saying Twinkie is tired. She's tired. And now that I know she has mental health issues, I can kind of understand it. So it's just like, we may not ever see the 5 of them on stage again, but to see at least 4 of them would be nice. And that's my thoughts on that.
All right.
Thank you for watching my video, guys. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
I'll be back.
See you.
I'll be back. Hey, Tiny. You're going to see it be longer next time.
And I'll see.
Done by Lorena.
And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.